probably many thoughts. And as Acharya was talking about, forgiveness is actually easier said than done. Right? We understand, it's clear in every single spiritual tradition since time immemorial that forgiveness is, as the Vedas or the yogic text state, it illuminates our path in life. It's illuminating in our life to forgive, because it kind of, otherwise, lack of forgiveness, holding on to resentment, and all of those kind of things. I remember hearing my spiritual teacher talk about how it actually ends up as a blocking us from actually experiencing actual spiritual love. If we hold on to resentment, to anger, and to forgive others, it stops the flow of transcendental love, which is our very essence. And I remember he gave an example. It's kind of like if we hold on to resentment and anger against someone for maybe something horrendous. I'm not saying there was nothing wrong in what someone may have done to us. But he said it's like you have circulation, spreading blood and circulation through our whole body. And obviously the body has all various parts of it, the fingers, the hands, the ears, the eyes, the nose, everything is part of the whole. So we are all part of the supreme whole, the original cause, the absolute whole, or God. And every living being is also part of the supreme soul. So by holding on to resentment, anger, lack of forgiveness for others, I remember this example he used was like, putting a tourniquet on one of your fingers because you don't want blood to flow into that finger. So that's what it's like if we are trying to hold on to this anger and resentment. We're not allowing love to flow into our life in that way. So another idea that came into my mind is that, and our experience in life, have you noticed that there's not a shortage of imperfect people in this world? Have you noticed that? There are some shortages of different things here and there, but one thing there is not a shortage of is imperfect people. Would anyone disagree with me? You've never met any imperfect people? Never looked in the mirror? Seen an imperfect person looking back at you? So much for the self-love thing. That idea of, I remember when I was younger, my dad actually was into this. I think the guy's name was Dale Carnegie. Probably only old people have heard of that guy. But he wrote a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, something like that. And my dad was kind of into it for a while. And part of it, I remember, is that you look in the mirror and you say, every day in every way I'm getting better and better. Stuff like that. So what I just said goes a little bit against that. You look in the mirror and go, oh, there's an imperfect person. So these imperfect people, it's kind of like, Dodgem cars. You know what Dodgem cars are at the Eka and things like that? No matter how hard you try and steer it, the steering's like weird. You try and steer and it oversteers or understeers, and you keep banging into other people. So kind of life and all of us imperfect people keep kind of doing that. And it has a huge impact. They have a huge impact on our life. So there's lots and lots of opportunities that we get to forgive others because these imperfect people keep bumping into us time after time after time. So the other thought that came into my mind that I've heard my spiritual teachers speak about, and sometimes we might question, like, why are people such assholes, right? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Why do people do these shitty things to me and to others? I mean, it just doesn't make sense why you would do these horrible things. We do these horrible things to each other. We cause each other so much anxiety, don't we? And the most fun thing that we have in life that causes us anxiety is what? Relationships, right? Relationships cause us so much trouble, so much anxiety. First thing they cause us is anxiety in maybe there's someone that I want to get to know. Maybe I'd like to have a relationship with a particular person, so I can experience caring and being loved and loved back and being cared for back. And then there's this whole anxiety about, well, maybe they won't like me. Maybe they won't be attracted to me. I'm attracted to them, and maybe they won't be attracted to me. And then, of course, many of them say, no, they're not attracted to me. And then if someone is attracted to me and we're together for a while, then there's this whole anxiety about how our relationship is doing. Isn't that true? Any of you ever been in a relationship? It can be with parents or siblings or significant others. Even when you're having a good relationship, there's still this anxiety and fear is there basically every day. Why is the person didn't text back to me immediately? Or there's all different kind of things. And then, of course, eventually these imperfect people leave me and go to love someone else. So relationships are a good experience of the imperfections that we experience in this world. And we treat each other badly at different times. So to come back to this idea of why, my spiritual master explains that actually there is no such thing as a bad person. No one is actually bad, We may have imperfections and shortcomings, but no one is bad. He explained the reason why we do things to each other is because we are actually starving. So if we want to know what this whole thing is about, why we hurt each other and why we do things that just don't make sense, is because we are starving. And that people who are starving, they're not bad people inherently. We are pure by nature, pure spirit soul. We are pure. We are not sinful by nature. We are pure. That is our essential nature, pure spirit soul. But we become conditioned to this life, of identifying ourselves with this material body and this world as being our home, and we can find satisfaction in others and different experiences in this world, but actually this is not the case. And we experience different frustrations and anger because either A, we want something and we don't get what we want, and this causes frustration. And from frustration, anger comes. And when we're angry, grumpiness comes. Have you noticed that? Have you ever been grumpy? You're not grumpy when you're happy. Have you noticed that? Happy people are not grumpy. It's unhappy people who are grumpy. Isn't that right? There's something going on inside of them. They're grumpy. And they may say or do something in that grumpiness. So it's the same. So when we're hungry, let's use the word starving. And I don't just mean I skipped lunch. I mean actually starving, going days and days without food. My doctors put me on a 48-hour water fast every week, because certain health things I'm dealing with. And I tell you, by the end of the 45th hour, you're starving. And you might even sneak out and, buy a chocolate or something, You'll do all kind of crazy things when you're starving. You will hurt others, you'll steal from others, you'll say things which you later regret, you'll do things that you regret later on when you get your intelligence back. So we are all starving spiritually. And this is at the root cause of why we hurt each other in a variety of different ways, why we take from each other, why we exploit each other, is because we're actually starving and we're trying to satisfy that hunger, that spiritual hunger. So if we truly understand that even this person who has harmed me, who has said something horrible to me, done something horrible to me, ultimately that person is not a bad person. That person is so starving that they've been driven to a type of madness due to that starvation. It has had that impact on them. It doesn't mean that what they do is to be condoned, no. As Acharya Das pointed out last week, that's not what's being advocated here. But it is important to understand. Like if you see someone, like starving, hungry, just hunger, they're emaciated, and they actually go and steal something because of that hunger. Do you feel sad for them, or do you feel angry at that starving person? What do you feel? You don't feel anything? Sad. You feel compassion. Even if they've broken into someone's house, even if they've stolen someone's car, they've stolen someone's phone to go and hock it, you know what I mean? Because they're starving, then you understand why they are doing it. Not, again, that we condone what is being done, but we actually feel compassion for them. So this can also be a game changer in our relationships with others if we truly understand this reality, that when we are not in a harmonious union with Krishna or God, then we will be starving to varying degrees spiritually. So that the degree that we are actually connected to the all-love, to the Supreme Soul, then our hearts will also be similarly have that degree, experiencing that degree of love. So we'll have that degree of spiritual satisfaction. But if we are not connected, then we'll be completely starving and do even worse things. So how to become satisfied? How to not be starving? This is sadhana, or spiritual practice. This is what we are trying to do here. This is like a restaurant, like a spiritual restaurant, where all kind of levels of starving people come to actually become nourished spiritually. And by degrees, just by coming, we'll find that that hunger is satiated to some degree. Not immediately and not fully, but we get a taste of that nourishment. And we feel some spiritual strength come from it. Is that not true? Those who have come before and come back, there is a reason why we come back. We are finding there is something that I am benefiting from by doing this. So yes, this is like we're getting strength. Like if you have a bowl of soup, you're starving and you get this nourishing bowl of soup. You take a few mouthfuls and you fairly quickly begin to feel the benefit, the energy and the strength. And what else comes with that? You start to feel hopeful about your future, that yes, you will become well again, right? You will have your strength will come back again. So that's actually what this is happening here. We are being nourished by these holy names because we are beginning to taste, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, we're beginning to taste a little of that nectar that we are ever longing for. And it is the nectar of spiritual love, because we are tasting that in the holy names of the Supreme Soul, the all-love. So we ourselves need to become nourished, and more, gradually, step by step, we'll find that we also begin to have more tolerance for others' imperfections. It's not like we will, all of a sudden all the dodgem cars disappear. No, we will still bump into daily imperfect people. But as we become spiritually nourished, we'll find that we actually, our anger, resentment and all of those things begins to turn into compassion and care for these starving people, even when they bump into me. And my previous go-to was road rage. I get angry and yell back at them or do something to them so they get to know what it's like. I'll actually begin to experience care and concern and compassion even for those who have harmed me. Wasn't it Lord Jesus Christ who's the epitome of this when he was being cruelly beaten and then murdered, crucified, as was the way in those days? he said something like, "Father, forgive them, because they do not know what they are doing." So here is a soul who is actually tasting such perfect and complete love for the Supreme Soul that it is mind-boggling that after how Lord Jesus Christ was so cruelly treated, that what came out of his heart was actually care and concern for the people who were not just saying something nasty about him, but were doing such cruel, barbaric things. Out of genuine concern for these people, he said, "Father, please forgive them. They do not know what they are doing." So this kind of brings us back in the circle to the idea of starving. Starving people also don't know what they are doing. They are driven mad by that starvation, and they do all kinds of things. So it doesn't mean we don't avoid people when they are starving and harming people. We do. We stay away from them. But we try to help. We don't feel angry at them and want revenge and all of those kind of things. Anger at them. Compassion will be there. So let us nourish ourselves. It's a little bit, not exactly like this, because we can become too self-absorbed, which is a major problem in the world today. But you know, when you travel on a plane, and every one of us has many, many times, one of the things they tell you, please watch what we're doing, right, up the front. They're going to give you all the thing about, like literally you've seen it 300 times. And you're just rolling your eyes and they're asking you to look. But one of the things that they do tell us is that if for some reason, as unlikely as it is, something happens to the plane and it begins to plummet and oxygen becomes deprived and the oxygen thing falls down, and they tell you to put it on first, make it tight, and do that for yourself first before trying to help someone else next to you. That's not exactly 100%, but it is kind of true. If we really want to be able to help others truly, not just, as a good idea, but actually help others, then we need to also have oxygen. We need to be nourished. So we need to do what we need to do personally to actually begin to experience that nourishment of spiritual love. And the easiest way to do that is what we're doing here tonight. Hearing and chanting these beautiful names of the Supreme, absorbing our consciousness in them, resting our heart in them, our starving heart in these beautiful names, and it'll act like a lifeline, like a transfusion of spiritual love. And as we become stronger and nourished, then we can actually begin to help others also. And how we can help others is to forgive, to not be angry at them, to understand, to be compassionate, understanding that they may not have what I've been fortunate to have. Thank you very much.